Malaysia on strong footing to attract quality investments. And also, King calls on universities to play a role in supporting students' education. Energy Absolute Malaysia's Sendirian Berhad, the Malaysian arm of Thailand-based leader in renewable energy and green technology, has expressed interest to explore the Malaysian market anchored on the principles such as supporting, investing and driving a pilot project. Prime Minister Datuk Seri Anwar Ibrahim said the company, which has a strong market capital of 380 billion baht, equivalent to 45 billion ringgit, will collaborate with Computer Forms Malaysia Berhad CFM to develop green technology in Malaysia and electric vehicle EV technology transfer, among others. In his Facebook post today, the Prime Minister said the company will build an EV manufacturing facility specifically for the transportation sector, such as electric buses, electric school buses, electric boats, electric motorcycles, EV batteries, electric trains, mobile electric cars and others, worth a total of 5 billion ringgit. He said as ASEAN Economic Community members with almost similar culture and heritage, the cooperation between Malaysia and Thailand continues to be strong, with high neighbourhood spirit and collaboration in various relevant fields. Malaysia's economy is on a strong footing to attract quality investments. Now, according to International Trade and Industry Minister Tengku Datuk Seri Zafrul Tengku Abdul Aziz, although challenges still remain due to global economic uncertainties, China's move to reopen its borders next week bodes well for Malaysia, as China is the nation's largest trading partner. In an interview with CNBC this morning, he said that the move will help Malaysia's exports and economy. He said domestic efforts focusing on environmental, social and corporate governance (ESG) principles in key sectors, enhancing the ease of doing business and moving up on the value chain in sectors will also help cushion the impact of global economic headwinds. He added that Malaysia is expected to register a gross domestic product (GDP) growth of 8 to 9% in 2022. Tengku Datuk Seri Zafrul also said the unity government, led by Prime Minister Datuk Seri Anwar Ibrahim, is very much committed to the nation's participation in the Comprehensive and Progressive Agreement for Trans-Pacific Partnership (CPTPP), which came into effect on 29th November last year in Malaysia. When asked if the worst is over for the ringgit, which depreciated by 6% in 2022, the minister said he is optimistic that the local currency will continue to strengthen in 2023, given Malaysia's growth forecast for the year. In the same development, Tengku Datuk Seri Zafrul said the Ministry of International Trade and Industry MITI will strive to ensure that policies on green transition must be just and must promote social and economic equity. The minister said governments around the world are grappling with a new challenge, striking a balance between supporting inclusive economic development and growth, ensuring secure and reliable energy access, and promoting environmental sustainability. Explaining further, Tengku Datuk Seri Zafrul said it is important that governments collaborate to align legal and regulatory frameworks in order to promote investments. Towards that purpose, he said MITI is committed to drive efforts to attract more electric vehicle EV investments and to meet the national target of 15% total industry volume TIV for EV and hybrid by 2030 and 38% TIV by 2040.
Pihak industri pun telah mengemukakan beberapa cadangan yang saya rasa bagus ya untuk negara kita, untuk rakyat kita dan untuk ekonomi kita. Jadi saya harap pihak Kementerian Kewangan akan memberi pertimbanganlah kepada permintaan atau cadangan daripada pihak industri dan juga MITI.
The minister said this at a joint venture agreement signing ceremony between Computer Forms Malaysia Berhad CFM and Energy Absolute EA Public Company Limited Thailand at St. Regis, Kuala Lumpur today. The Langkawi International Maritime and Aerospace Exhibition 2023 or Lima 23, scheduled to take place from 23rd to 27th May, is expected to see the participation of more than 600 exhibitors from both local and international defence industry companies. Defence Minister Datuk Seri Muhammad Hassan said 80% of them have expressed their commitment to participate in the exhibition. He said that Lima 23 is also expected to attract more than 50,000 delegates from home and abroad.
Daripada 600, 80% komitmen dan mereka dah book dah. In fact, dia punya lot-lot berapa kita dah siap kan. Saya berharap penganjuran Lima pada tahun ini akan berjaya seperti penganjuran DSA pada tahun lepas. Saya ingin menyeru kepada semua pihak agar kita dapat sama-sama menjayakan pameran ini.
He said this when speaking in conjunction with the 2023 Defence Ministers' Mandate event at the Wisma Pertahanan Auditorium in Kuala Lumpur today. The Lima exhibition was last organised in 2019 and then postponed due to the country being hit by the COVID-19 pandemic. The preliminary report of the landslide tragedy at the Father's Organic Farm campsite in Batang Kali on 16 December was presented to the Cabinet yesterday. Without revealing the essence of the report, Minister of Natural Resources, Environment and Climate Change, Nick Ahmad said it was prepared by his ministry through the Department of Minerals and Geoscience, JMG, and the Department of Survey and Mapping, Malaysia.
Ada satu laporan penuh yang akan siap dalam masa terdekat. Jadi semalam Yang Berhormat PM nak tengok early report first sebelum laporan penuh disiapkan. Sebab di peringkat awal fokus ialah kepada SAR, search and rescue. Jadi bila dah selesai, kita dah jumpa semua mayat dan sebagainya, baru dia move on to tengok tentang the technical reports punca kejadian.
Previously, Nick was reported to have said that a full report will be presented to the Cabinet and the Ministry of Natural Resources, Environment and Climate Change will also take a holistic approach covering legal aspects and development structures to prevent similar incidents from recurring. The tragedy at about 2:30 a.m. on 16 December claimed 31 lives, with 61 people rescued out of a total of 92 victims involved. Coming up next, AADK targets higher success rate for drug rehabilitation program. Stay with us. But first, Yang di-Pertuan Agong Al-Sultan Abdullah Riyadudin Al-Mustafa Billah Shah has called on all universities in Malaysia, both public and private, to play a role in supporting the educational aspects of their respective students. His Majesty said this would provide the opportunity for students to serve the country in the future.
Yang saya dimaklum, ada 75 universiti di seluruh negara Malaysia, baik yang kerajaan dan maupun yang private. Dan saya harap semua universiti ini dapat main peranan untuk menentukan perjalanan penuntut-penuntut ini diusahakan dengan sebaik yang mungkin. Mudah-mudahan mereka akan menjadi penuntut-penuntut yang dapat memberi sumbangan besar kepada negara di masa-masa akan datang, insya-Allah.
Al-Sultan Abdullah said this at the launch of Tunku Abdul Rahman University of Management and Technology, TAR UMT, in Kuala Lumpur today. Also gracing the event was Raja Pemaisuri Agong Tunku Haja Azizah Aminah Maimunah Iskandaria. Higher Education Minister Datuk Seri Muhammad Khalid Noordin and TASI Education Foundation Board of Trustees Chairman Datuk Seri B. Kasyong were also in attendance. Al-Sultan Abdullah also expressed pride over TAR UMT's achievements, which included producing more than 300,000 graduates and having over 29,000 students enrolled on all of its campuses around the country. Home Minister Datuk Sri Saifuddin Nasution Ismail has set a success rate target of 75% for the National Anti-Drug Agency's AADK Drug Rehabilitation Program this year. He said the new target follows the agency achieving a 70% success rate last year.
Membuat jangkaan. Misalnya, sukses stories pemulihan 70% tidak kembali semula ke gejala penaikan. 70% ini yang menyumbang mereka tak kembali itu kerana apa? Is it because of the community support, the family support, ataupun the follow-up program by AADK officers? So those are the factors yang AADK ada di dalam diorang punya, kita panggil senarai semak tugasan mereka. Ini kekuatan yang ada pada mereka.
Speaking in a press conference after an official visit to the AADK headquarters in Kajang today, Datuk Sri Saifuddin said the agency should conduct an analysis of the data from the program to create a predictive model to increase the success rate. Meanwhile, commenting on the 500 members from the People's Volunteer Corps, RELA, who were assigned to assist the General Operations Force, GOF, at 5 of the country's borders starting this year, Datuk Sri Saifuddin said the placements would be done in stages. He added that RELA members stationed at the country's borders would be equipped with firearms if needed, and they would need to return them to the store after their duties ended. Meanwhile, Datuk Sri Saifuddin has said that the investigation of the alleged rape of a 16-year-old girl by a police inspector in Kedah should be allowed to undergo its due process. The Home Minister also said that he was briefed on the matter by Inspector General of Police Tan Sri Akril Sani Abdullah Sani yesterday.
Let the investigation take place, and then let the due process of the law. They should be given to proceed with the investigation if there is a need. I believe there is a strong basis for the police to start the investigation. And yes, to answer your question, the IGP has given me a full briefing yesterday.
And in court, a couple was charged at the Georgetown Magistrates Court today with trafficking 5.7 kilograms of ganja last month. Muhammad Shakir Saiful Asa, 35, and Mulyana Suzanti Pahmi, 31, were jointly charged with committing the offence at an apartment at Jalan Lembah Permai, Tanjung Bunga, at about 1 a.m. on 30th December last year. In a separate charge, Muhammad Shakir was also charged with trafficking 1.48 kilogram of heroin at the back lane of a car sales centre at Jalan Sultan Ahmad Shah about 12:45 p.m. on 29 December last year. Both the accused nodded to indicate that they understood the charges which were read to them before Magistrate Nur Melati Diana Abdul Wahab. No pleas were recorded as the cases are under the jurisdiction of the High Court. Deputy Public Prosecutor Nurul Atika Ashraf Ali prosecuted, while both accused were unrepresented. The court did not offer any bail and set the 5th of April for mention of the case, as well as for submission of documents and a chemistry report. It was reported yesterday that police had uncovered a drug trafficking syndicate following the arrests of a couple and a security guard through 3 separate raids. The Kuala Lumpur High Court today freed former Felda Chairman Tan Sri Shahrir Abdul Samad of a charge of failing to declare to the Inland Revenue Board (LHDN) an income of 1 million ringgit allegedly received from Datuk Sri Najib Tun Razak. Justice Datuk Muhammad Jamil Hussain acquitted and discharged Tan Sri Shahrir, 73, after Deputy Public Prosecutor Rashida Murni Azmi told the court that the prosecution did not wish to continue with the case. The Deputy Public Prosecutor confirms that the prosecution process will not be continued anytime soon. In such a situation, it is appropriate for the accused to be acquitted and discharged. Judge Dato Muhammad Jamil said upon the acquittal and discharge, the trial dates of 27 and 28 February this year have been vacated and bail and passport will be returned to the accused. Tan Sri Shahrir, 73, a former Johor Bahru Member of Parliament, was discharged with money laundering for not stating his real income in the income tax return form for assessment year 2013, which is a violation of Section 113, Subsection 1, Subsection A of the Income Tax Act 1967 by not declaring the 1 million ringgit which he received from the former Prime Minister in a cheque and banked into his account. The charge under Section 4, Subsection 1 of the Anti-Money Laundering and Anti-Terrorism Financing Act 2001 provides for imprisonment of up to 5 years or a fine of 5 million ringgit or both upon conviction. Coming up next in our foreign front, China to open border with Hong Kong for first time in 3 years. Stay with us. China will reopen the border with its special administrative region of Hong Kong at the weekend for the first time in 3 years as it accelerates the unwinding of stringent COVID rules that have battered its economic growth. Hong Kong Chief Executive John Lee said the opening on Sunday will bring the resumption of quarantine-free travel between the financial hub and the mainland, although it would be done in a gradual and orderly way. China is set to reopen to the world on Sunday, welcoming international travellers and returning residents without the need to quarantine for the first time since 2020, even as infections surge after it scrapped its COVID curbs. Lee told reporters that a maximum of 60,000 people a day from either Hong Kong or China could cross the border from 8th of January. People would need to make a reservation online to cross land borders, while ferries and flights are subject to ticket availability. People in Hong Kong have only been able to reach the mainland via the city's airport or just 2 checkpoints, one at Shenzhen Bay and the other via the Hong Kong-Zhuhai-Macau Bridge. Most other border points, including the West Kowloon high-speed rail terminus, have been closed since early 2020. The deeply riven U.S. House of Representatives was engulfed in crisis for a second day running as fresh rounds of voting failed to produce a winner in the race for Speaker. Conservative hardliners have been blocking establishment pick Kevin McCarthy in a humiliating standoff that has paralyzed the lower chamber of Congress since it flipped to narrow Republican control after the new year. A faction of around 20 renegade Republicans denied the California congressman a majority in 3 drawn-out votes yesterday, a day after blocking his path in an opening trio of ballots. Increasingly bitter infighting, described by Democratic President Joe Biden as embarrassing, has made the 2023 speakership race the first in a century to require multiple rounds of voting. The stalemate has left the chamber unable to swear in members, fill committees, adopt rules for legislating or negotiate a path through the paralysis. McCarthy, who has raised millions of dollars to elect right-wing lawmakers, dragged his party back to a 222 to 212 House majority in last year's midterms after 4 years in the wilderness. The 57-year-old former entrepreneur has long coveted the opportunity to replace Democratic Nancy Pelosi, something of an icon in U.S. politics who held the gavel in the last Congress. But McCarthy's speaker bid has opened a troubling rift within the House Republicans, with sentries referring to the hard-right faction leading the charge against him as the Taliban 20. Malaya should not lean on past records. Next in sports. Harimau Malaya skipper Muhammad Safawi Rashid is aware that past records will mean nothing when they take on Thailand in the semi-finals of the ASEAN Football Federation AFF Cup 2022 at the National Stadium in Bukit Jalil on Saturday. However, having said that, he also believes that their success in eliminating Thailand at the same stage in the 2018 edition could tilt this weekend's first leg tie in Harimau Malaya's favour. To achieve that, the 25-year-old winger knows that everyone in the national team will have to play the rules to perfection. For the record, Malaysia edged Thailand on away goals after drawing a 0-0 in Bukit Jalil and 2-2 in Bangkok in the semi-finals of the 2018 edition, before going on to lose 3-2 on aggregate to Vietnam in the final. Malaysia then notched 2 more wins over Thailand, 2-1 and 1-0 in the second round group stage of the 2022 World Cup 2023 Asian Cup qualifiers. The two teams crossed swords again last September in the semi-finals of the Thai Kings Cup. Both teams were tied 1-1 in regulation time, and Malaysia won the penalty shootout 5-3. Malaysia will head into this weekend's clash on a high after their tremendous 4-1 Causeway derby thumping of Singapore on, which paved the way for the Harimau Malaya to advance to the semi-finals as runners-up of Group B behind Vietnam, who will take on Indonesia in the other semi-final. After the first leg of the semi-final at Bukit Jalil, the Harimau Malaya will leave for Bangkok for the return leg clash at the Thammasat Stadium on Tuesday.
FA Cup runners-up Terengganu FC TFC have completed their foreign import quota with the signing of 2 players from Croatia. While 32 years old Domigoj Pusic will replace Manuel Ott in midfield, 26-year-old Ivan Mahmud will replace Liberian striker Kepa Sherman, who is reportedly set to join Sri Pahang FC.
Terengganu Football Club Sendirian Berhad TFC SB Chief Executive Officer Abdul Rasid Juso said Pusic and Mahmud, who will be plying their trade in Asia for the first time, had signed a 1-year contract with the Turtles ahead of the season's Malaysia League, M-League and Asian Football Confederation AFC Cup competitions. He said the 1.9-meter tall Pusic, who previously played for NK BSK Bielo Brdo in the Croatian First Football League, will don the number 8 jersey, while Mahmud will take the number 7 jersey. Rasid said that their height is one of the reasons head coach Tomislav Steinbruckner roped them in, and added that both players will start training with their new teammates at the Gong Badak complex. TFC-SB had previously signed 3 other import players: Sador Kulmatov, Uzbekistan, Sodi Node, Haiti, and Adisak Kraison, Thailand, besides retaining the services of Habib Harun, Bahrain.
Still in football, in the English Premier League, Harry Kane lifted the gloom at Tottenham earlier today, scoring twice in a convincing 4-0 win against Crystal Palace, as Nottingham Forest hauled themselves out of the relegation zone.
Antonio Conte's inconsistent Tottenham, who finished 4th last season, had taken just 1 point from 2 matches after the Premier League resumed following the World Cup. An insipid Tottenham survived until half-time at Selhurst Park, but came out after the break a totally different side. They broke the deadlock in the 48th minute when Ivan Perisic crossed to Kane from the left, and he neatly nodded past Vicente Huayta at the near post. Kane double-spaced his lead when the ball fell to Brian Gill on the right, and he flicked the pass to the England captain, who sent a low strike unerringly into the bottom left corner. Matt Doherty made it 3-0 midway through the second half, and Son Heung-min completed the scoring 4 minutes later. In St Mary's Stadium, Nottingham Forest climbed out of the Premier League relegation zone courtesy of a precious 1-0 victory which heaped more misery on bottom club Southampton. Taiwo Awoni's goal earned Forest a first top-flight away success of the season to strengthen their survival hopes.
And on to tennis, Poland and Greece fought down to the wire to reach the semi-finals of the United Cup Mixed Team Tournament as the United States also advanced. The 3 countries who won their city finals to progress were joined in the last 4 by Italy, the runners-up with the best record in the $15 million event, which replaced the short-lived ATP Cup to open the 2023 season.
The US will play Poland for a place in the final, while Greece meet Italy. Poland's players and staff broke into dance after their heavyweight mixed doubles pair of Iga Swiatek and Hubert Hurkacz won the final rubber against Italy's Lorenzo Musetti and Camila Rosatello 6-1, 6-2 to wrap up a 3-2 victory. Swiatek and Magda Linette won their singles matches to twice draw Poland level after Hurkacz and Daniel Michalski were beaten by Musetti and Matteo Berrettini to set up a thrilling finish under the roof at Pat Rafter Arena in rain-soaked Brisbane. Greek Stefanos Tsitsipas outlasted Borna Coric 6-love, 6-7, 7-5 and ended the three-match losing run against the Croatian. But Greece were dragged into a deciding clash with a tie locked 2-2, and Tsitsipas and Maria Sakkari overcame Petra Martic and Borna Gojo 7-6, 6-4 to spark wild celebrations among fans in Perth.
Game, set match, Team Greece. 7-6.
In 57 minutes.
In-game team, United States.
1-0.
And also moving forward, Novak Djokovic battled back from 5-2 down in the first set to beat Korte Alice 7-6, 7-6 and move into the Adelaide International 1 quarterfinals. Alice, ranked 64th in the world, has never beaten a top 10 opponent but gave Djokovic a big scare before the former world number 1 prevailed in 2 tiebreakers.
Djokovic, who has now won 31 consecutive singles matches in Australia, is preparing for the 16th to 29th January Australian Open, where he is seeking a record-extending 10th crown. The Serb was unable to defend his title last year after he was deported on the eve of the tournament for not being vaccinated against COVID-19. Djokovic said it was a great performance from Alice and congratulated him for great quality and a great fight. As far as his game goes, the Serb said he feels good on the court and to play in this kind of court that is really fast and it does favour the server. He added, quote, "If you're serving well, it's tough to break the serve of a big server like Alice. So 2 tie breaks were probably the most realistic score." The 35-year-old Serbian will play next Denis Shapovalov, who he has beaten in all 7 of their meetings.
And on another note, Djokovic is set to miss the Indian Wells and Miami Open this year after the United States extended its requirement for international visitors to be vaccinated against COVID-19. Proof of vaccination will be required to enter the country until at least 10th of April, but Serbia's Djokovic has previously said he is unvaccinated.
The Indian Wells runs from 6 to 19 March and the Miami Open from 20th March to 2nd April, and Djokovic risks missing the 2 important hardcourt tournaments if he does not take the vaccine. The 35-year-old Serbian was unable to defend his Australian Open crown last year after being deported from that country on the eve of the hardcourt major due to his unvaccinated status. The 9-time Australian Open champion is currently warming up for the 2023 season in Adelaide for the Australian Open after a 3-year travel ban for the country was waived in November. That decision opened a path for him to target a 10th title at the Grand Slam and tie Rafa Nadal's mark of 22 majors.
That wraps up tonight's edition of News at 10. In our top story, Malaysia on strong footing to attract quality investments. Now do tune in to updates at noon coming up tomorrow on TV2 at 12:30 p.m. Till then, it's lights out. I'm Brendan Paul. Thank you for watching. Take care.